what's inside of this box, because not everybody kind of sees what's inside the box. So this is what happens when you open it. You get this lovely box, and it has tissue paper. I love putting as much cotton cut stuff in tissue paper as I can. I feel like it's like my confetti. Like, I feel like we have to have tissue paper in everything we send because I want it to be like a package. I love opening packages at Christmas that have tissue paper. So when you open the package, one of the first things you'll see is this little handy dandy swatch card. And so this is specific to the woodland colorway. And it has a whole bunch of frequently asked questions and tips and tricks, right? We've been doing this a while, so we kind of know what's going on, what kind of questions we can help answer ahead of time. And then it gives you the swatch card to tell you which fabric is which. For this mystery, we started emailing these to you guys. What we realized is these are oftentimes misplaced, but if you have a digital copy, you can always reference it. And perhaps you leave it at home and you're on a retreat and you want to sew the project, you can just go to your email and you can get it right there. So everyone comes with a swatch card. They have a welcome letter and they have a sticker. But then this is what I was talking about, is inside each box, there's these little packages, and it's packaged, Clue 2, and it has all the pre-cut parts and pieces inside of it. So when Clue 2 comes, I just grab this, I grab my instructions that have been emailed to me, and I can sit and sew, and I am off and running, gang. And so it goes all the way through. There's Clue 3 and Clue 4, and it goes all the way to Clue 10, which is always the big one on the bottom. And Clue 10 has the strips and the binding that you're going to need to finish the quilt. So literally everything is in this box. If you want to be super organized, you can sew it and put it right back in that box. And that way everything stays together. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. As I told, I believe, Becca, we want you to get to the end. And so if you have the box, you can put it all together.
Hi everyone, my name is Amber and I am the owner of So Majestic, and I am so excited to be an ambassador for Cotton Cuts, and I am taking over their social media for the weekend. So I hope you're gonna enjoy tuning in and seeing the different videos. Make sure you check out the stories, because one of the best things that we're doing is we are also doing a giveaway. So please make sure that you check it out and that you join, because this giveaway is good.
Good morning, Facebook, or afternoon. Sorry, I apologize. I'm so used to doing this at 9:30 in the morning. I apologize. And literally, I haven't seen the sun today. So I really do think it's the morning. But good afternoon, everybody. We are here for a special edition of our Cotton Cuts Live. Each month, we come to you with an interview from our featured designer for that given month. And so what is a featured designer? A featured designer is an independent quilt pattern designer that our team finds and we want to partner with, who is designing fantastic inspirational quilt patterns for all of our audience members to enjoy. And we feature their patterns in our Modern Maker and our Classic Box subscriptions for that given month. Each month it's a different person. It is someone who we like and we are inspired by, and we definitely want to share that love with you. This month, our special guest is Emily Tindall of Homemade Emily Jane. Her patterns are awesome. They're bright. They're fun. Like, it sings to me. And so we're going to spend the next 20-ish, 30-ish minutes with Emily. She does have a baby. And so we are going to try and be super respectful of her time and have a very awesome conversation with her that we can share with you all. So, Emily, if you can join me on Instagram, let me see if I can get you connected. This is always the technology part of our conversation. Let's see here. We're going to work on getting Emily connected. Good morning, Emily, or afternoon, Emily. How are you?
Hi. Am I live?
You are live on Facebook and on YouTube. But
hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let me see here. Uh-oh. I don't know what's happening. So this is a new one. So we've never had like it dial like that. Like, are we FaceTiming each other right now? Okay. I think we've got it. Okay, let me get my volume turned down. This is always the most interesting part, gang, is to make sure. All right. Is there an echo? Emily, can you?
I think a little bit. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you. Yeah, Perfect. This is one of those ones. So I've learned that the in-app settings on Instagram are different. So like if you turn your phone down beforehand, Instagram's like, nope, nice try. Thanks for playing. All right. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us. I love the quilt in the background. Let's start there.
Thank
Tell us about the
you.
quilt behind you.
So this is my most recent new quilt pattern. It's called the Blessings quilt pattern. I am definitely echoing now.
You are definitely echoing. Yes, you are.
How do I fix that? I'm like, I want to be able to hear you.
All right. So do you have an Android phone or
I have an iPhone.
you have an iPhone? Okay.
Should I use headphones?
Paul, if you can, oh my gosh,
Yes.
if you can use headphones, that would be awesome. Let's try that.
Hold on one
Okay, so
second.
we're gonna give it a second. Okay, so what I can talk to you guys about is, so Emily has worked with us and has 5 patterns that we are hosting in our shop for this month. All of the patterns are on the website right now. You can definitely go check out her patterns. They are digital downloads and you can get them. Or if you subscribe to our Modern Maker or Classic this month, you will get a code for a free pattern. All right, Emily, are we ready to try it again? Emily is Bluetoothing her headphones. Okay. It's okay. We're good. I'm not worried. All right. And so we do this every month. And so every month we pick a different designer. And so Emily, are you good now? Oh. So folks, I actually love technology. It's super fun. Okay.
How about now?
Okay, I can hear you. I didn't hear an echo that time. Let's try that again.
Perfect.
Uh-oh. Okay, so
No.
I am
Let me
not an iPhone user. I'm an Android because I'm an old person, as we talked about before we started. I use the Instagram and the Facebook. But I am being told that on the side of your phone, if you hit the little like lever on the side, that should do it. And turn it down.
I think the headphones connected.
There's delay now.
Oh no.
It's okay.
Okay, maybe back there some.
I think it's the computer. So I don't know if your computer is like intersecting.
Technology.
Yeah. Okay. So what we can do is on your computer is if you turn the volume all the way down. Yeah, someone is suggesting on Instagram to maybe mute the computer. And then that way you can hear me come out of Instagram to you without going back into the computer. But we might not be able to hear you on the computer in that case.
I have the computer volume all over.
Okay,
but my Instagram is low.
Yeah, so in your computer, it sounds like a robot voice. Because everyone on Facebook and on YouTube, does it sound like you're like a robotic automated voice? I don't know if there's some sort of weird overlay going on.
I don't know either. I've never.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I think.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
The playback.
So I don't think she has the headphones connected at all on either. She's completely off. So something happened with the computer audio. I'm looking at my tech team, Paula over here to see if she has, and she's like, I am not tech. So okay.
Like I'm not tech.
What's that?
Okay. Keep messing with my settings.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So Paula, what do you think? Should we perhaps what we can do is I can continue a conversation with Emily, not live, and then we can share the transcript, or we can try again with different technology. What do you think we should do, Paula? Looking at my guru of all things tech. She's thinking. Okay, let's try taking you off Instagram. And what we will do is we will close the Instagram live. And what we will do is we'll post the recording of our interview on Instagram as not a live, but as a regular video. Yeah.
That can go watch on YouTube.
Yes. Yes. So everyone that's watching us on Instagram, you can either come watch us on YouTube and Facebook, or you can check our channel for the delayed broadcast later. Okay, so I'm going to shut the live here. Okay. All right. Emily, are we there? Are we back?
Here, can you hear me?
It's still got this like thing here, Melissa.
Please take this on away.
Yeah,
It was working on me.
something going on. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. Okay, so what we're gonna do, Emily, is we're gonna have you sign out of the live and then come back on. And let's see if that works. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for being super patient with us as we work through that. As we all know, this day and age, technology is our best friend and also our worst enemy. Okay, so I guess I'm not really a singer or a dancer, and my kids, as we know, are all the jokesters. She's real back, Paula. She's like here. Can we get her on the stage, Paula? She's back already. Yes, sorry. I got Paula off the stage, Miss Paula. She's helping us. Okay.
Testing.
Oh my gosh! Success!
Is it working? Can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you.
I
Okay, good.
appreciate you bearing with me for the tech issues.
So we've all been there, Emily. Like it happens to me too. Like if you want to be super entertained, like look at our very first live. It was not great. It was real bad. So
Hey,
we have
we're
definitely come
trying.
along. Okay, so let's start where we started. So tell us about the lovely, awesome quilt hanging behind you. Let's try that.
Yes. So this is my blessings quilt pattern. It's one of my favorites. It is my most recent pattern, and I actually designed it when I was pregnant with my son, and it was the first quilt that I made for him. I actually have it. It's like his playmat. I keep it on the floor in my sewing room so that I can have him play while I get some work done. But this is the baby size, which is it's a pretty generous one because I knew I wanted it to be like a play mat for him. So I've made a few versions of it myself. I'll never get tired of flying geese. So
just the 3 flying geese. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna come back to the flying geese because I'm sure you have tips and tricks to help everyone. But
yes, we'll get there.
I want to start with tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get in this quilting journey? How did you get into pattern designing? Give us the whole elevator pitch.
All right. So I actually started sewing when I was in middle school. My mom signed up to make all the costumes for a school play. She had been sewing for my whole life. And so she taught me how to sew. And I will say, anyone that wants to get into sewing, costumes are a really great place to start because people look at them from a very far space away. They don't have to be perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
I'm gonna apologize. I would never have said start with costumes. Jiminy crikey. Like I was in drama in high school. Like those costumes are elaborate. You're absolutely right. You're like miles
they're
away
far
looking
away.
at it.
Hey,
But oh my gosh.
the points don't have to match.
Okay, I can buy that. Okay.
Yes. So that was my first experience sewing. And then high school came and I signed up for a class called fashion design, which was basically just beginner level sewing class. Really loved it. Eventually, my grandmother, who lived in Hawaii for most of her life, had been Hawaiian quilting for a very long time. And she had moved closer to us here in Florida. And I spent a summer spending a lot of time with her, and I said, "Hey, you know how to quilt. Here's a picture I found on Pinterest. Why don't we make this quilt together?" And she looked at me and said, "You don't have a pattern. What are you talking about?" And I said, "I know you can do it. You can figure it out." So together we figured it out. It was a basic, like, at the time, chevron patterns were really like all the rage. So it was basic half square triangles making a chevron. Not that advanced in terms of skill, half square triangles, but doing it without a pattern was a fun challenge. Um, and it was a really great bonding experience for me and my grandmother. So ultimately, I just was looking for something to do with her. I knew quilting was something that she loved to do. And that really started off a long journey of me falling in love with quilting.
Oh my gosh. So I love that story. I love the wanting to connect with a member of your family, but I also do like bringing in a challenge. So I know, I've quilted a ton, and whenever I would get asked to make a quilt, someone would be like, well, don't use a pattern, like make it up. Like you can do it. And I love that challenge, that push, because you can oftentimes get in a rut and you're like, oh, it's really easy. I'm just going to take the mini charms and sew them together and bam, I have a quilt. And so I like that challenge to the experienced quilter. Now you mentioned your grandmother did a lot of Hawaiian quilting. Can you help us understand what that means? Because that's different than what a lot of people think of when they think of quilting.
It is very different. So she started off with Hawaiian quilting and then made her way into more patchwork. But the types of Hawaiian quilting that she did was all needlepoint applique. It was all hand done entirely. I actually have a quilt downstairs that she made for me years and years ago. that is like an angel trumpet motif and just entirely hand done. Like these little stitches are so tiny and so close together, and it's a whole new skill set that I haven't even ventured into yet.
It's interesting because, like you said, it's super intricate. And I'm like, if I lived in Hawaii and I was on the beach, like, I don't know if I'd be like spending a lot of time with my intricate sewing. All right.
Right.
So tell us, Emily, how did you get into pattern design? What was your calling? What made you make that turn?
That's a really good question, and it's also a really tough question too. I started my brand teaching people tutorials, basically using other people's patterns. I was a pattern tester for a long time, so I'd use those patterns and kind of help other designers and like show off their work. And I always believed the lie that I wasn't creative enough to design my own patterns. And
Right.
now I look back and I'm like, that was not very bright of me. But I believed that for years. And then eventually one day I came up with a design and I thought, this is actually different. This is something that I want to put out into the world. And then there's the whole like overcoming a hurdle of like, how do I sell things? How do I have an online shop? How do I actually make the pattern itself? And I had a lot of help. Thankfully, all of that came to be, but that was my first pattern connector, which actually came about in 2020. So we're coming up on 4 years.
Right.
And so if you want to check that out over on my website, that's up there. That was
Okay.
my first pattern. And I'm very proud of it because it was an opportunity for me to overcome a lot of those lies that I had been believing about
Yes.
myself.
I love it when you say that, right? The lies you tell yourself, right? The like, I'm not creative enough. I am not good enough. I'm never going to be able to figure this out. And all the perseverance and all the grit to be able to be like, yes, I can build a website. So how did you find resources to help you, right? Because I mean, there are those unique unicorns that can do it all by themselves. But how did you find the community to help you build this brand?
That's a really good question. I think I was just taking it one day at a time. I am someone that does enjoy building those connections with people.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, I had been pattern testing for years, so I had built relationships with established designers.
Mhm.
That certainly helped because I had people that I knew already that I could ask those tough questions to. Um, and from a tech side, I did a lot of Googling 'cause I did
Yeah.
build my website myself, and it was hard.
Oh, I know. Same. Like Reddit is amazing for the like how-to tutorial step by step, just the words. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so just tackling one task at a time, figuring it out, that building the confidence then to go do it again.
Mhm. So how did you find your people? How did you find like we have all these things. No one will ever buy my stuff. Like, how did you find the community that would love your pattern?
Um, I think just showing up and sharing, really taking the approach of how can I help other people learn a new skill?
Mhm.
How can I benefit other people in their expression of their creativity? And sometimes it's through a free pattern or through a free tutorial or through YouTube videos and just doing it over and over and over and over again so that people start to trust and recognize and say, oh, this person helped me with binding. I bet you they can help with flying geese too.
Mhm.
Um, and all of those little skills that quilting is so fun because there's always something new to learn.
Yes. So on that, so what are you learning new? What is your current like on my new learning list?
That's a good question. I've been playing a lot with, like, different fabrics
Mhm.
combinations, and it's really tough because, as you mentioned at the very beginning, I do have a new baby, so I don't have as much time for sewing. I don't really get a ton of time at the sewing machine, but I've been playing a lot more with, like, the digital side. So I'll pick out fabrics, and then I'll make a digital mock-up of it because I don't get to sit down and sew nearly as much as I want to, but I can still use that creativity and pick out where fabrics would go in a virtual quilt if I do ever get to sit down and make it.
But that's fantastic, right? The technology is such that you can do that, right? You can
Mhm.
so tell me, what is your preferred software? What do you prefer to design in?
Oh, as far as creating mock-ups, I actually did a series last summer about different options because it can be very not techy. If you're not techy, there's a coloring app that I like to use. I think it's called the Recolor. And
Okay.
you can only do solid colors, so it's not as great for using specific fabrics, but it is really great for playing and just having fun with like a mock-up.
Mhm.
And so that's like on the less tacky side. And then currently I've been using it's called Affinity Designer and
Oh,
Affinity
wow. Okay.
Illustrator. It's kind of like Adobe, except you don't have to pay for a subscription. And I
Mhm.
am very frugal. So I like the you pay for it one time, you learn how to use it. You don't have to worry about like, oh, am I getting my money's worth out of it this month?
Mhm. Oh my God, that's awesome. I mean, I like the like affordable options, right? And
Mhm.
I like that design software has a spectrum, right? If they're like you're just starting out, you're not super tech savvy, all the way up to the like I need to take like 8 weeks of instructional classes to be able to figure out this software. That I like that there's this built out gambit along the spectrum.
There's something out there for everyone for sure.
Yes, that's fantastic. All right, so Emily, so you said you like playing with different fabrics. Who inspires you from a fabric design perspective? What are these fabrics that you're loving to play with?
That's a good question too. I like the versatility of basics and blenders and like I like solids, I love solids, but I think the little tiny bits and pieces that you see in fabric, like the quilt behind me, these are not solids, but they look like solids from far away. As
Oh,
you get closer, you notice there's like little bits of metallic and little X's and little flowers, like all these cute little motifs that just bring out so much fun to it. So I've been playing with all the basics. Primarily Riley Blake. I love their basics. Riley Blake Designs
yeah,
has some really
awesome.
good ones I'm obsessed with. Um, and just there's so many different colors that I can kind of curate my own custom selection.
Yes, I love the like blenders category and how it's grown and expanded. I remember,
Yeah.
so I've been quilting for far too long, and originally it was you had to have white as the background of all the quilts, right? Everything was solid white, and it would be like you could do prints and make your, but it had to be solid white. And I was like, I'm gonna be a rebel, and I'm gonna use white on white. I'm being adventurous. Like this white has some texture in it, so clearly I am breaking rules. And I mean, of course, nowadays like white is not common anymore. You can do purple and blue and black and gray and all sorts of different colors. And now they have really, really cool fabrics that read as solids, like you said on the quilt behind you,
Mhm.
but actually are not. And it adds so much depth and adventure to a quilt. I love all of that. All
It's
right,
a lot of fun.
I'm going to bring you back to your flying geese, right? So
Mhm.
clearly the quilt behind you has a ridiculous number of flying geese. Give us the tips, give us the tricks. How do we not
Okay.
drive ourselves batty with that?
Yes. So I know this is not for everyone, but I personally really love my AccuQuilt. I use an AccuQuilt die cut machine. If you're not familiar with it, I have tutorials over on YouTube as well. Um, Let me just be completely honest. At first, when I first thought about AccuQuilt, my mom was like, "Oh, this is cool," and I was like, not understanding the hype. I was like, "It's just going to take up so much space. It's expensive. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with a rotary cutter." Um, but then I got one and it has changed my life. I use it specifically for triangles or curves. If I'm just cutting rectangles or squares, I just use the rotary. But if I'm cutting something with a bias or with a different kind of edge, I'll use the AccuQuilt specifically because once I cut out the triangles, I sew the triangles together, I don't have to trim them. And that's my least favorite part of flying geese or half square triangles or any of those, the trimming. So
Right.
that's my number one tip. But if you're not using AccuQuilt, the 4 at a time flying geese method is pretty nice.
Mhm.
That's what the blessings quilt pattern includes. I think most of my quilt patterns include the 4 at a time method because you get so many more
Right,
so
I
easy.
agree. It has to be efficient, right?
Yes.
I've done the pattern designs where it's like, okay, we're gonna make 600 flying geese pairs, and then you have to trim them, and I'm like, oh my God, I am never gonna be done with this quilt. So I love the tip, right? The use the AccuQuilt, right? You're gonna be able to get
So
so
fast.
many more triangles, and as long as you're consistent, they're gonna nest together just fine, and you're not gonna have any of this wonkiness that you would get if you're
Yeah.
doing literally any other technique.
You mentioned consistency. That's super important too. If you're using an AccuQuilt and don't plan on trimming, you have to make sure your stitching is like on point. Like
Yes.
you have to sew it really well. It's a good challenge though. It helps you practice your quarter inch seam.
Well, and all of our puzzle mystery quilts, we use AccuQuilt cutters in the shop as well. And we give you directions like, oh, it should finish 5.5 by 5.5. I'm making it up. And people are always like, but it's 5 3/8. I'm like, it's okay as long as you're consistent. If every
Mhm.
single piece you sew is consistent and used on the same machine, it's all going to work out in the end. Just
Yep,
be consistent. With die cut shapes, consistency is huge. All right.
absolutely.
So Emily, where is Handmade by Emily Jane going? What's next from you? Where's all the coolness in the future?
Oh, I love that question too. I don't really know yet. This past year, I have just been trying to keep it fun. That's my main goal, is just use it as an outlet to express myself and encourage others to do the same. And as far as like a business perspective, I don't have a strategy. I don't know when my next quilt pattern is going to be released. I'm keeping it fun, and I hope that that shines through. Sometimes I won't post on Instagram for a week, and sometimes I'll be like really inspired, and it'll be like every day. And it's just as I feel inspiration, I want to share that with other people. I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon, that's for sure, because I am having fun. And I think that that's what's going to keep me going for a long time.
I think that's super fresh, right? It's you inspire when it inspires you. And I think that's authentic. And you're not the automaton that's like, okay, every single like I need 3 posts a day and now I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel just to put something out there. I think that's awesome. And it sounds like you're also the mom of a small child too. And you don't have as much
Yeah,
time as you once had.
I'm a
So
little busy.
yeah. No, I don't know what that feels like at all. Yeah. All right. So, Emily, how do people find your patterns? How do they find you? How do they watch your tutorials? How do they be inspired by you?
Yes. The main place you can go is homemadeemilyjane.com. That's my website. It's my hub of all of my like big key content pieces. Even though I haven't created some new tutorials in a long time, I have a little search bar. I have tons of topics on there. I wanna say anything you can think of, but obviously, no, not everything because there's so much out there. But I have a lot on my website, so that's the number one place to check out. Um, in addition to that, I'm on YouTube, Homemade Emily Jane, and then also Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. You'll find mostly just, like, similar stuff on all of those things.
It's fantastic. I
Um,
mean, it's one of these things, right? How to sew a 1/4 inch seam, right? I mean, you can put out that's everlasting content, right? How to finish a
yes.
binding, that's everlasting content. You don't need to do a second video on how to do binding because it's unless you've learned something new or changed a technique, that video is going to get you what you need to do. If it was done today, if it was done 10 years ago, 20 years
Yeah.
ago, it's going to get you what you need for
It's
sure.
fun that you say that too. I recently compiled a bunch of my most popular tutorials into a mini course. It's completely free for people to sign up and take. It's all the content that's already on my website. It's just packaged in a way that is bite-sized chunks. It starts with like picking out fabrics, picking out a pattern, and then it talks you through cutting fabric, sewing them, all the way through making the quilt. So it's every step one at a time. Well, it might be a couple of steps at a time, but it's all done through email. So you can always go back and look at your other emails too. And that's just a fun way to help people find what they might be looking for that they don't know what they're looking for.
Emily, that's amazing because
Yeah.
that's always we always get asked, can you put together how to quilt course? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like where do you start? Like there's
Where
so
do you
many
start?
bits and pieces. How finite do you want me to the steps to be? But you've got the course like off the shelf and it's free. That is amazing. Guys, like go check out Emily's website. Like get on that list, start watching those tutorials. That's awesome.
Yes. At the top of my website, there should be a banner like sign up for the free intro to quilting mini course. It's also at my link in bio on Instagram if people find it there.
Oh my gosh, Emily, you are amazing. You are inspiring. Thank you so much for bringing joy to our Cotton Cuts family. I loved seeing your patterns go into the box. It is amazing. If you guys have any questions for Emily, put them in the comments. My team will get them answered and they'll figure out, they'll get them all to the right places and everything. Emily, I know you have a baby to get to, so I don't want to keep you much longer, but thank you so much for your time today. As always, I very much appreciate it.
Thank you. It has truly been a pleasure. And I just hope that something here inspires someone else.
That's amazing. That's what we all want to accomplish. Thank you, Emily, so
Right.
much. All
Thank
right. Thank you. All right. So for everyone else, don't forget, join us tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning. We're going to have our regularly scheduled Cotton Cuts Live. We're going to be talking about a special project that we have called our charity quilt. We found 9 super awesome quilters out in the sewing verse who are going to be sewing along with our Tree of Life detectives. They're then going to autograph their clues that they sew. We're going to put it together into a giant quilt and we're going to raffle it off. So stay tuned to us tomorrow to learn more about it. You can find us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. That's all, everyone. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.